Defiler of Moonsilk Keep is the first adventure written by Arthur Marquez, specifically for ShadowDark. It's a second level mega dungeon campaign setting that also comes with its own starting town, some unique side quests, all the NPCs you're going to need, unique creatures specifically to this adventure and campaign, but also it's got a 0 level gauntlet if that's where you want to start. So let's just jump straight over to Drive-Thru RPG. So if you're going to order this, this is where you can purchase it from currently. It is only in PDF at this moment in time. Whether softback or hardback copies are available in the future, I generally don't know. Arthur did send me this copy. He asked me to, if I fancied looking at it, and I did. So this is my review. So I thought I'd, get it on camera so everyone can see what he's created. If or when you do buy this, please use my affiliate link, which will be in the description of the video, because it just helps me buy more books that I can put on the channel. Then, create more reviews for you to watch. Obviously, please do like, share, subscribe to the channel. So here we have the Defiler of Moonsilk Keep. Okay, so what is included in the book? So it's a fully fledged out starting town with a host of NPCs and adventures, a mini mega dungeon sprawling 60 rooms with puzzles, traps, and hidden secrets, intriguing NPCs with fleshed out personalities and goals, and individual artwork for most. A point crawl gauntlet, wherein the strongest or luckiest survive, 41 unique monsters, 5 one-page side quest locations, 8 new magic items, and a deck of 0 level characters. It does also come with all the maps that you're going to need for all the locations, so if you want to put this onto a VTT or print them off when you run it on tabletop, these are all included. We're currently at time of recording, so it is a silver bestseller, so it is shifting. Okay, so right, let's just get over and take a look at the book. So here we have the cover art of the book. Book comes in at 168 pages on Drive-Thru RPG. Cover I've got is 170 because obviously that's then going to cover, I'm assuming, the front cover and back covers as well. As you can expect from most ShadowDark books nowadays, the inside covers are now going to be filled with tables, which are always really handy. I think it's really good that I say all books should be doing this. ShadowDark, it's just that sort of style that we get. So we've got here details of the Black Hand and other villains in the decks and their sort of motivation. The Stone Moon Keys, their locations where the Games Master can easily find them. And then a list of the kidnapped miners, and then the details of the dungeon itself. So this is a dungeon that goes downwards, okay? And we'll just do the back cover while we're here. And so the back cover here, we've then got the normal treasure that's included, the treasure items, some fabulous treasure, some legendary treasure, and a list of the NPCs and the side quests that they're going to offer out to the players, okay? Obviously, you're going to need a copy of the ShadowDark rulebook to run this adventure. Right, let's get into a little bit forward here. Just details a little bit about Arthur himself. He's done the writing. The cover art was public domain. The book is nicely hyperlinked, so I always like that. It's a good thumbs up to start. We're going to start with content, and we've got a lot of content. So we've got 4 pages of content, so it's individually broken down. So starting with layout, the Grey Wyverns, these NPCs, the town of Havenford, which is where you're going to start. An NPC in the game, Moonsilk Keep, which is the main location for the adventure or campaign, you could call it. And we're still within Moonsilk Keep here. And then again into some more of the NPCs. And we're getting further and further down into it. And then we're into sort of side quests. The old mine quarry starts the side quest and side quest locations that are in the book. All the way through to here is the gauntlet adventure, and then we're finally onto the bestiary, and then some maps at the end, some isometric maps, and then some credits towards the end of the book. So content's nicely laid out, nice and clear. The layout section just details the layout of the book, so it gives you a guide on how Arthur has set the book out. Detailing points of interest for the narrator, reference pages. This is mainly reference pages back to SD is the ShadowDark book. P is just pages within this book. There are handouts included, but you're going to have to print off the page, cut them out, because it's not a separate section towards the end of the book. And some of it is sort of foreign language or sort of clued language, if that makes sense. It doesn't appear to be a foreign language. It might be Ogham, I don't know. All the stats and the monsters are in the bestiary, and then it just breaks down exactly how the monsters are going to work, which you should be quite familiar to this if you are used to running any sort of ShadowDark adventures. The overview then is, so we saw this map sort of guide really towards ShadowDark, we saw this guide to Moonsilk Keep right at the start, so you can get into the main keep either through the watchtower or the barracks, down into the keep, the crypts, etc. You can access it from the old mine, and then you've got another layer here, which is going to bring you back into Emberhold, down into the archives, and then finally into the Moonwell. So there are two ways of actually accessing it. So the Grey Wyverns and the Shadow Marches. So the Grey Wyverns are the heroic bunch of, it's really realistically the adventures that you're going to play. A lot of the 0 level characters are in here. You can use these as player characters if you want to, or you can just use them as fully fleshed out NPCs. And you've got a D12 here of different ones that they can interact with to say either bring them on board for the players to play, or they are recurring NPCs that are just going to appear throughout the adventure. So they all come in with art and a little bit of sort of fleshed out descriptor, if that makes sense, with all their stats and skills. Then into the map itself of Shadow Marshes, which can easily be given out to the players. So it has got some locations on, but it's just a starting, as you imagine from a hex crawl. Here's your blank map, and sort of go from there. What it doesn't do is tell you where the players start. So you can work that out for yourself, because you're going to have to. Havenford is the starting town, and this is fleshed out a little bit. It doesn't exactly tell you where it is at all. So you kind of got to try and work it out for yourself where it is as you go through the book. But we have got some NPCs in here, some encounters, which will help encourage the players to either start in Moonsilk Keep or go out and discover some of the side quests that are actually built in. The NPCs also have a little bit about, say, missions they have, and there's one here. So it's like Guldrin is in love with Helga. So there are little bits of sort of flavour around the characters and a little bit of motivation. And we've got some artwork for all of the characters in the town. And there's, I think, 10, 12. There's quite a lot in there. Well, then getting into the Burgest, which is a goblin shapeshifter. And he's one of the sort of recurring protagonists throughout the adventure here. Then we start into Moonsilk Keep, the 2nd level adventure. Details then of sort of history of how it was built. It was sort of built with the sort of the dwarfs and clerics a long time ago. It does link into the ShadowDark book here and some of the ShadowDark cleric people there. And then we've got, it's technically a race to the bottom. So as the players are discovering and trying to find different ways to get down, they will, to go down properly, you're going to need to find the moon-shaped stone keys, of which there are 4. But the Black Hand, which is one of the cults that's running alongside the adventure, is they're not really aware of it. So you're going to be sort of racing them to get to the bottom to stop them doing what they're trying to achieve. Probably should have said, so here on in, there will be spoilers. I'm not going to completely spoil the adventure, but if you're a games master, or especially if you're a player that wants your games master to run this, now's probably the time to stop. Or if you do watch it, just try not to pay attention to too much that's on the page. Say, I try not to spoil these adventures, but obviously there will be accidental spoilers as we go through. So different factions, there are 10 factions in the game, not all of them really factions. So you've got the miners that are in there and the goblins that you're sort of competing against and the Black Hand. And then we've got a variety of it calls them factions. I kind of think some of them are just, so like the Bahir is just more of a creature and a group of troglodytes and stuff, but they don't really feel factiony as such, of just, say, a group of people. And then we've got sort of weird creatures and stuff like that. So yeah, there's lots of interesting enemies. The miners they've been kidnapped, and there are 10 of them, and they will appear in 2 different rooms during the adventure. And once you manage to save and secure a couple of the places in the keep, you can then use that as a carousing area to come back to the players and give them sort of safe sleep, etc. Well, then, as we start detailing Moonsilk Keep, we've got the sort of starting areas, so how they get in through the keep and the outer wards. There are the sort of I don't really know what you call this map. Well, this is like a 2D. Let's just go with a 2D sort of map. It kind of reminds me of computer games in the 80s. I can't. It's probably got a name, but I can't think what it is. And then, as you'd imagine, going back to the standard map, so the difference of the starting keep, etc. And each room then has got its descriptor and what's going on in the room. And all these are handouts over here, so in the bottom right hand side. So you need to print this off. I think it would have been handy to have a handout section. That would have been quite nice, just to pull it towards the end of the book, just to help the players just sort of print them off, like like Warhammer does it. Well, not if you ever played Warhammer, but Warhammer sort of pulls it at the end of each section. You can print off the couple of pages and just go from there. So this will just details going in. We've then got a little bit about the Werebat, which again is another one of the nemesis that is in the Moonsilk Keep. Detailed map for the mausoleum. I do like the fact that the numbers carry on going and they don't reset the numbers for the rooms, because some books, when you read them, as you go into a different section or a different sort of map area, they reset the numbers back to 1, but this doesn't do it. Details then of the Black Hand, and obviously they're in the mausoleum. Again, these sort of newer sort of map style designs here. I think people are either going to like or hate them, because it's trying to give them that sort of 3D effect. The Hero's Legacy is a treasure, so this is some of the treasure that you can find within the keep itself. And then we've got another NPC here, the Were Hyena. Emberhold, so as we're getting further and further down, we're now going to discover the troglodyte. So each area of the map realistically has, its own unique, not only dungeons, traps, etc. and theme, but they tend to have their own unique enemies that are in there for each of the sections. And then into the archives again, just carrying on, saying you got the flat maps and then these sort of 3D-ish type maps here for each of the sections. Again, it just carries on going. Then at the end of each sort of room section, we've got the sort of end-level bosses. And then finally, right at the bottom, we've got the Moonwell, and then the bad guy at the bottom of the Moonwell. We've then got details of the Old Mine Quarry, and this is an additional way that the players can actually access the Moonsilk Keep. So this is the one where, actually I'll just go back and show you. It's what we're on page 75. So this is where they just come into the mine, and then they can move in from the underground river to Emberhold. And again, it's just going to come with its own little map here and some details, and then the sort of the writing puzzle that is going on in the adventure. Finally, we've got the Bahir layer, which has got some more of the troglodytes in, and then end level boss at the end here. The Three Sisters, so this section, so just coming up as we go through, I'll just click over and then show it back. So these are 3 hags that sort of recur in different sections in the world. They've got their own stats. It details where they live, a little bit about their homes and the storage, etc., that are going to appear and give some hints and clues to the ongoing adventure. And that technically is it. That is the whole of the second level sort of starting adventure campaign for Moonsilk Keep. The rest of the book now, we are getting into side quests. So if you want to sort of flesh out the adventure, so Moonsilk Keep starts at second level, so you can flesh this out by, well, we'll come on to it. There is a 0 level gauntlet that you can sort of start the players on, and then you can sort of flesh out. There's 5 side quests here that you can sort of build and discover. Each is a 2-page. I think they're all 2 pages actually, which has got its map. Bit of details here, some random encounters and some creatures on here that we've got. And then that's it. We are then into the 0 level funnel. It's not funnel, it's gauntlet in this game, isn't it? Funnels, dungeon crawl classics. So sorry about that. Which again, we've got this map kind of how it works and how you get there, some extra rules to go through, and then all the rules for the mountain pass, and then finally the dragon's lair at the end, and all the stats for the dragon. So finally we're into the bestiary. So it's got 41 new animals. It says 56 new or returning monsters in this bestiary section, which is pretty much all of the beasts in the book. I didn't find one where I need to go back to the ShadowDark book, which is quite good. There may have been one that I missed, okay? We're then putting all the maps back in, and this is where it starts to go a little bit skew-iffy for me. Here we've now got, so there are hyperlinks on here, which makes it easy. So if you're buying this and you run it off PDF, you can then find out exactly that is Havenford, okay? Which is all well and good. But if you haven't got the PDF, there's no guide or map or key to where all the locations are. So we've got here BMK. BMK is actually the area for Moonsilk Keep. MK, Moonsilk Keep, okay. B doesn't stand, so maybe that's for base, I don't know. I generally don't know, is my honest answer, because when you look at, so let's take some of these side quests here. I think that one might do. Yeah, so we've got Gryffindor. So GRD is the link here for Gryffindor. I just generally, I kind of get what he's done, but if you don't have the hyperlinks and you're running this, say, off an iPad, or you've printed a copy off at home, you have no real way of knowing. It really needs a key down here or somewhere else in the book to sort of explain where it is. Also, this is sort of hidden down at page 144. Personally, I'd have put this right at the start, so the games master can quite easily identify. It then just replicates the maps here, but it's nice, again, all the hyperlinks, so it can take you through to all the players, where all the players are going to be, in the rooms, etc. Really handy little section right at the back. And then we've got finally the art pages that I like the look at them. I don't think I'm going to use them, but I think it's nice to have the choice, in all honesty. And then finally a page of credits and stuff at the end. Another larger map that you can just give out to the players there. Say, you know what, when you get into it and you know where the locations are, it does become a little bit obvious. But yeah, that is the adventure in a nutshell. Now, the adventure itself, I think, is really good. It's a nice sort of closed-in dungeon crawl. It says mega dungeon crawl. It's more of a small mega dungeon crawl, if that makes sense. You've got two ways of getting in. I do like that you can sort of circumvent actually a big chunk of the rooms and just come in underneath, and then either go up or down depending on which way you're going to go. It means that they can discover it a slightly different way, as opposed to deliberately going from the town automatically to it. The side quests are interesting. They're nice and simple. If I've got a criticism, I think you may have noticed it as we went throughout the book. The layout I've got to be careful, because I think what Arthur's done here, and this is his first written credit, I think is really good, but I think the layout needs work. It's not always obvious what bit relates to which bit. Yes, we've got, I'll show you what I mean. So that map towards the end is utterly confusing unless you are working it off the iPad, so if you're playing on a virtual TTT, you're going to be able to sort it out quite quickly. But this is really handy that the hyperlink's taking you to different sections in the rooms. I do like it, but I just think it could have been written not considerably better. It's probably the wrong way. Not written, but the layout. It's just all. It took me a long time and many reads to kind of get what was really going on, because it's things like the three sisters are in here. It gives them some sort of hints on where they're going to live and how they interact. And, there's rumours that bring them in, and letters and all their stats. But everything, it makes sense how he's written it. but for some reason I don't overly like it. I just feel it's like we've got the layer here, which again should work. It's nice and simple with the layout and then the creatures at the end. Personally, I'd have just put all the monsters to the back, because if you're gonna, so when you're going through the adventure, so let me try and find, actually let me just get back into the main dungeon and show you what I mean. So we've got in sections in here, it will say a certain creature. I can't find anything typically, and then it links you to the back of the book. But the main bad guys, sort of end level bosses, they're all put into each section. I think it needed just a better foreword. I think would have just explained how the book works. That map definitely needs a key, because those 3 letters aren't always obvious what they stand for. It's not that simple to find them. But I really like this. It's, for a first time adventure, other than probably working with someone else to just, I personally would take a chunk of it out, leave it to one side, and then put it back into a chronological order. And I think, because what Arthur's probably trying to do here is gone, I've got my main adventure, it's a second level adventure. I then want to have some side adventures to allow players to get to it, to build up, get through first level. I want to have a gauntlet that's going to sort of set the scene for the sort of dragon that's in the adventure. That's a weird ending. I didn't like the way that ended, but again, don't want to spoil it. I think, hold on, quick spoiler. So I'm going to just say I'll timestamp the spoiler here for the ending of the gauntlet. Hopefully that's enough of a pause. So the end of the gauntlet, if you're a games master, you're going to need to change this, because they go off and get to the end, and then they fight a really powerful dragon. And it basically says the dragon will not try to kill them all. It's going to sort of play with them like a cat does with mice, that sort of thing. And hopefully, and it kind of implies that hopefully the players will run away. Now, I don't like that. If you're going to run a 0 level adventure with 0 level adventurers and starting characters, in general, they're going to think they've got a chance to defeat whatever's going on, and they possibly might not run away, which means everything is either going to die, or if they do run away, they're going to be incredibly unfulfilled that they went into a cave to discover something. They then found a dragon, and then they ran away, and then they get to level 1. I don't like it. You've either got to create a smaller dragon, which is then related to the main dragon, that then brings the dragon back in, is probably the way I'd run it if you're going to run this 0 level adventure. Half the hit points, reduce its damage, somewhere around there. So that's the spoiler over. So hopefully it'll be nice sectioned in there. But overall, it's a really good book. It's a great first attempt. First attempt is probably it's first attempt at an adventure. So I love what's in it. You can quite easily pull most of the side quests into any other adventure, any other hex crawl. You're going to have hours and weeks of fun in this. It's just, as a games master going in, well, hopefully if you've watched this, I've done all the hard work for you. But it took me longer than it needed to understand really what was going on. It's like, so the final thing is, like, the NPCs, put them somewhere else, put the factions at the back. Just all of that should be an appendix at the back. I personally want to see your gauntlet to start with, your side quests, your main dungeon, all the monsters, all the factions, all the other stuff at the back. It's an absolutely amazing adventure. I'm really looking forward to running this with my players. Hopefully they haven't watched this. And for price wise, it's an absolute bargain. The fact it comes with all the maps and everything else. You're just going to need that extra little work. But Defiler of Moonsilk Keep by Arthur Marquez, absolute thumbs up from me. Go and buy it. So if you do buy it, please use my affiliate link. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.